because you have seen yourself as the leader, then you begin to use that God-given opportunity to extort money from people. As we speak, the architect in Kwego, when he was invited by the police, made a confessional statement that they collected 200 million naira from him, and that he paid the money in 4 installments through a personal account of the treasurer. If you are doing something on behalf of the party has account. All the transactions, sales of forms, that's nomination form, interest form, should be done with the party account number, not personal account number.
But then he sent the money to his personal account, so he should know that it should be in the party account.
No, the truth is that they claim they are the owner of the party. They will tell you what to do. So because you are...
Is Labour Party owned by someone?
That was what he claimed. Remember, I told you here that Mr. Julius Abure told me that he's going to show me that he's the national chairman of Labour Party and that his words are final. You should know what that thing means.
And I think you also stated that he had such threats at some point.
Oh, certainly. We found an embodiment of illegality in Barrister Julius Abure. If we choose to open the can of worms in Labour Party, maybe probably on another day, Labour Party will have nothing less than 600 cases in court.
Oh, wow.
Over illegal substitution.
In the words of Colin Quinn, who is an American stand-up comedian, actor, and writer, once said, "A lot of lip service gets paid to being honest, but no one really wants to hear it unless what's being said is the party line." All right, so our next one is from Abijat Naskar, who is one of the world's famous neuroscientists. He once said, "Religion was the opium for the masses of yesterday. Politics is opium for the masses of today." I'm sure you're wondering what exactly all of this could relate to and what we are discussing tonight. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We are reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here, the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Now, over 2 months after the February 25th presidential elections, aggrieved parties have converged at the tribunal in Abuja. That's the federal capital, the nation's capital, like most of you prefer to call it. Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, sitting at the Court of Appeal, consists of a 5-member panel of judges and is headed by Justice Haruna Samani. Other member panels include Justice Stephen Ada, Justice Mistura Bola G. Yusuf, Justice Moses Ugo, and Justice Abba Mohammed. At the commencement of the pre-hearing, KAFTAN Television observed that there was watertight security as police operatives cordoned off the road leading to the court. Justice Mani led panel announced that it would commence its pre-hearing session with 3 petitions. They are the petitions of the Action Alliance that's marked CAPEPC 1 2023, Action People's Party APP marked CAPEPC 2 2023, and Peter Obi and Labour Party LP marked CAPEPC 03 2023. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC announced Bola Tinubu of the ruling party, that's the All Progressive Congress APC, the winner of the February 25th presidential election, a situation that did not portend well with the opposition parties, that's People Democratic Party PDP and the Labour Party and some other parties. Aggrieved with the result, the PDP candidate and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, as well as his Labour Party counterpart Peter Obi, are challenging the outcome of the elections in court. But aside that, in other news, the said Labour Party are currently dealing with in-house squabbles, suspensions, allegations of anti-party activities, perjury, forgery, siphoning of public funds and all of that, just to mention a few. But then we will be having some of the Labour Party stalwarts discuss some of these matters. My guest on the show, I have 2 guests on the show today, and my first guest is Comrade Anslem Eragbe, who is the National youth leader, Labour Party, who they gave the report that he was suspended few weeks or months ago. And then we also have Comrade Eze-Oko, who is the Labour Party governorship candidate in Ebonyi State. So this are what we'll be discussing, the in-house squabbles, how they're able to resolve these squabbles and move ahead if they have any reasons to move ahead. But then, like they say, it's always a family feud until it becomes a crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see what Labour Party has to tell us today. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we'll go straight to our conversation for today. We have two guests on the show today. Our first guest is Comrade Eragbe Anslem. He is National Youth Leader, Labour Party. It's great to have you on the show again, sir.
It's my pleasure, Annabelle.
Awesome.
Hello, Nigerians, Comrade Eragbe Anslem.
All right, so now that you've met Comrade Anslem, we also have Comrade Splendour Eze, and he is the governorship candidate for Labour Party in Ebonyi State. It's great to have you on the show today, sir.
Good to have you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, now let's get started with this conversation, but we will start with you, Comrade Anslem, because I know that we've talked about the internal squabbles in your party, and then you said there's no internal squabbles and all, but then with all that is happening, and then we've seen you sent us some copies, because I recall asking you the last time that some members of your party say that you keep going to have press conferences without bringing forth evidence and all. Why not wait until the case is being settled in court, since it is sub judice and all, but then you've been able to bring up the evidence and also. But then, still going back to my question, how have you been able to sort out the internal squabbles in your party, seeing that your party put up a very good fight in 2023 elections? So what has been done since then up until now so far?
Well, thank you, fellow Nigerians. Comrade Eragbe Anslem, the National Youth Leader of Labour Party. And our guest, Comrade Splendour.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me welcome you.
Thank you.
That's the man in the eye of the storm. Basically, we just came out from the Federal FCT High Court here in Abuja, where the presiding judge further restrained Julius Abure and 3 others, the National Secretary, Umar Farouk, the National Treasurer, Oluchopara, the National Organizing Secretary, Clement Ojukwu, from parading themselves as officials of the Labour Party. And the judge held that the court has jurisdiction over the issues raised in the matter, because Abure filed for preliminary objection to the issues. What are the issues? The issues of forgery, perjury, and criminal conspiracy with financial malfeasance to the tune of over 400 million naira in the 4 systems. So basically, these are the issues. So as of today, the court will be ruling on that application on the 19th of May 2023, which is next Friday.
Okay.
So what that means in law and in practice and practical reality is that Alhaji Lamidi Bashir Apapa is the acting national chairman of Labour Party, because Abure and 3 others have been restrained since the 5th of April 2023. So in summary, now, I make bold to say that there are no crises. When I mean there are no crises, it doesn't mean this leadership tussle or factions or whatever people want to call it. But so long as the law has come into perspective, now it puts the issue to rest, pending the final determination of the matter. Because for final determination, well, that is for court to decide. But as it stands today in Nigeria, Federal Republic, there is one leadership and one national working committee. The leadership is headed by the acting national chairman, who came into force on the 6th of April 2023. Like I said earlier, in an emergency session of the National Working Committee meeting on the 6th, because the court restrained, the FCTI court restrained them on the 5th. So on the 6th, there was an emergency National Working Committee meeting that evoked the constitutional provision, wherein Alhaji Lamidi Bashir Papa, who is the deputy, let me say now, who was the deputy national chairman, was elevated to act in line with the restraining order. Similarly, Alhaji as national chairman, acting national chairman. Similarly, Alhaji Saleh Lawa, deputy national secretary, was elevated to act in the position of the national secretary. Now we have Comrade Reuben Prince, now acting in the place of the national organizing secretary. And then former national financial secretary is now taking the place of the national treasurer. So, in summary, this is the position of law, both of the republic and the party's constitution that has been upheld.
So are you saying that the party's neck suspended you at some point, but now the court is suspending the chairman?
Now, in terms of suspension, like I said, you are aware that I was suspended illegally, like I said, but I've been reinstated. I was reinstated on the 6th of April. Myself and Comrade Abayomi Arabambi, both of us were under illegal suspension. My own took effect on the 20th of October 2022. And that came to an end on the 6th of April 2023, when the NWC reinstated me. Because mind you, like I said, the national chairman or other members have no such powers ordinarily to have suspended anybody. If there was a committee report, that committee report was meant to be subjected to approval, ratification by the National Executive Council, only by 2/3 majority of NEC member. So that wasn't done. So all Abure indulged in was pure and outright illegality. But of course, because people appealed to me then to say, youth leader, calm down, take these things easy. I took it easy then, not because what was done to me was right, all in the interest of not doing things that will affect the fortunes of the Labour Party's national election, particularly the presidential election in 2023. So, but the good news here is the elections have come and gone. Now we are even in court, and I've said severally that even the reason we are in court is as a result of the competence of Barrister Julius Abure, who refused me to do my work and other national officers. So I've said again, there are things missing quickly. Our Form EC8A, which is the evidence we need authoritatively to canvass our matter in the tribunal. I said we don't have all of them. But again, it's not late. We need to recover all of them to be able to juxtapose what INEC displayed on the IREV, isolate this issue and make a clear presentation to reclaim our victory. Because unofficially, we are aware that we won the election. So I recall that the presidential tribunal, it was for your Labour Party, that's your presidential candidate, that it was they've shifted it to 17th of May. So yours is 19th of May. So he's going to court and you're going to court for the internal wranglings you have in your party. Is that it? Is that so? Well, yeah, we are all in court now, as it were. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal is handling the matter of the outcome of the declaration by INEC over who won the election. So we're in court on that matter. Again, the party, Labour Party, is in court over the infractions perpetrated by Julius Abure while he had the privilege of being the national chairman, over issues that now border on forgery.
So how much is your presidential candidate coming in to solve this? Or is he just interested in his going to court to reclaim his mandate?
Well, I think in fairness to him now, again, I should say this. I had an engagement with him sometimes last week, Tuesday. It was a one-on-one engagement for about 20-25 minutes. So we had begun the process of discussion. Now, but that discussion is at an interpersonal level. There's going to be 1 or 2 of such meetings, then a bigger house will now come into picture. So the National Working Committee will be meeting with him and other members of his team, hopefully to look at some of this area. So we'll be able to deal with the aspect that involve politics. But there are other aspects we may not be able to deal with. The aspect that border probably on criminality. Because the aspect that have to do with the perjury. Perjury means you have falsified court document. So we may not have powers over such discussions in seeking amicable resolution or solution to these lingering issues. There is the other part that have to do with a forgery. Good enough hearing is the man whose details were forged. So he can explicitly tell the world how some of these things took place for the information of the world.
Okay.
So we are here to tell the world really as it is, the truth of the matter.
Okay, so now we'll come back to you, but then let's come to you, Comrade Splendour, because we already have the evidence saying that your signature was forged. And then I'm saying a particular, I recall one report that was sent in where KAFTAN TV saw, and then we saw that both Onkwago and Eze had approached the Federal High Court sitting in Abakaliki to struggle on who flies the flag of the Labour Party in the state as its authentic gubernatorial candidate. In regards to all of this, the forgery, the perjury, the claims and the allegations, what can you tell us? Can you tell Nigerians?
Well, thank you very much. Like I said before, my name is Eze-Oko Splendour, the governorship candidate of Labour Party in Ebonyi State. This matter started from 9th of June 2022 when as at that time, I was still the state chairman of Labour Party that conducted the primary. Before then, there was no His Excellency Peter Obi. So it was pretty very difficult for us to get things done. People were not in the party, so we decided to struggle on our own capacity to get the primary of Labour Party conducted in the state. This even prompted to my going extra mile to dispose my property, and it was the money I realized from the sales of my property that I used to conduct the Labour Party primary. During that period, I contested for the governorship position of Labour Party, and I was returned unopposed.
Okay.
Then after the primary, INEC was there. INEC monitored the primary, wrote their report, submitted same report to their headquarters. Then my name was published by INEC as the governorship candidate of Labour Party. Thereafter, Peter Obi joined Labour Party via substitution. The moment he entered Labour Party, there was, an upsurge in Labour Party. People started coming into Labour Party from various political parties. One, Mr. Architect Edward Okwego, who contested primary, governorship primary in APC and lost, quickly saw the future in Labour Party. He moved over to the national office, met with Clement Ojukwu, the organizing secretary of Labour Party, who in turn took him to Barrister Julius Abure. From there, they struck a deal, and then the Barrister Julius Abure promised him that he was going to substitute me. So within that period, I think that was on July, he invited me, came over. So I was thinking that he was going to invited me to commend me for having conducted the primary, because before that primary election was conducted, Barrister Abure was always on me, pleading with me to try and conduct that primary, because if I don't conduct the primary, the Labour Party will not be in existence in Ebonyi State. All my effort to demand, assistance, financial assistance from the national leadership proved abortive, and that was why
he was at the helm of affair.
He was at the helm of affair at that time. So they couldn't assist me with any money. The money I used, like I said before, was the proceed I got from the sales of my property. So after the conduct of the primary, he now invited me over. I came. He said that the reason why he invited me was to inform me that there is a bigger catch. I said, what do you mean by bigger catch? He said that he has met with a very rich man who will stand in for my position as a governor.
Who are we talking about here?
Architect Edward Onkwego.
Okay.
The person that told me about this is Barrister Julius Abure.
So the architect is the big catch.
Yes, architect is the big catch. To him, it's a big catch.
Okay.
So I told him that the person you said you have caught, the big fish you say you have caught, is just a mole sent to Labour Party to block Labour Party, because I know that he is of the APC and he cannot come over to Labour Party without first of all resigning from his ward. That's the law. He has to take the resignation letter from his ward that is no longer a member of APC. Then he can now come over to Labour Party if he chooses. And coming over to Labour Party, the law is that he has to first of all identify with the party in the state level before coming over to the national level. All of this were not done. Abure now, because of the money, he was a kind of beclouded with that money that he felt he saw. So after I tried to explain to Abure that this particular man does not mean well for the party, all these things, fell in a deaf ear. So I told Abure right there that I am the governorship candidate who stood in for the primary, and I was validly nominated for this race, and I'm not ready to step down for anybody whatsoever, that I know that I'm going to win the election. So I'm going in for the election. So after that, Abure was displeased. He was very sad to hear that. Abure said, if I don't step down for his big cash, that he's going to tell me, he's going to show me that he's the national chairman of this party, and his words are final.
Do you have evidence to all of this?
Oh, yes, of course. So that was why. After that, we had a disagreement. I left. When I got to Ebonyi State, 1 week after that interaction I had with him, I received a call from INEC that a letter was sent to them. Whether I'm aware of the letter. I asked, what was the letter? They said it's a withdrawal letter. And that the signature they saw in the primary that brought about Labour Party in the state is not the same signature they are seeing in the withdrawal letter. So with that, I quickly, boarded the next available flight and came over to Abuja. So when I came to Abuja, I went to INEC. They said I must come with a letter, demanding for the CTC. It's not going to be done orally. So I approached my lawyer for that same letter. He wrote a letter to INEC demanding for the CTC of all the documents submitted to them by Abure. As God may have it, they gave me the CTC of all the documents. I saw the CTC from, withdrawal letter, CTC of the form, substitution form.
But if you have it here, would have really loved to show our viewers so that they can also.
Well, you have it in the compendium. I think we sent it to you.
Compendium 57.
Great.
Yes, it's all there. You will see it. So when I saw that, I was greatly displeased. So with that, I now asked my lawyer to proceed with his petition. My lawyer petitioned, petitioned the people involved, for, perjury, forgery, and criminal conspiracy. And that same exercise was embarked upon by the police, and investigation was carried out. And that's the result, the result of the report you are holding. As if that was not enough, Abure didn't stop. Abure went as far as giving Architect Edward Onkwego the go-ahead order to form another executive. He unilaterally dissolved my ESCO that conducted the primary in the state without consulting us. He now asked the Architect Edward Onkwego to bring replacement. We were all surprised when Architect Edward Onkwego forwarded names that will replace us as executive in Ebonyi State. The state chairman, Honorable Joke, is popularly called Simplicity, is his brother from Izi. he made him the chairman of Labour Party. He made one Barrister Luke Adonwe the state secretary of Labour Party from his family. So 4 principal officers of Labour Party in the state that he brought were all his family members. So we said, party is not.
Where is the deputy chairman? What is the neck in all of this?
The neck, you know, this primary was going on in all over the country, and it is primarily for the state to conduct the primary.
Okay, so now where's the state's neck, or who else is supposed to? Because now you say he unilaterally brought in people and then removed other people. So was it just a one-man affair?
Yeah, Abure was doing all these things by himself alone.
So where are the other people?
He's silent. Of course, he was in the habit of suspending his lieutenants. If you try to ask him or to advise him on this illegality he was exhibiting, he will find one reason or the other to illegally suspend you. So that was what he was doing at the national level. But what I'm telling you is what concerns us at the state level. Do you understand? So when I saw what was happening politically, I already know that his aim for, changing us was to give power to the new executive to conduct substitution primary. So when notification came for substitution, he didn't involve me, he didn't call me, I was not aware. He now asked Architect Edward Okwego and Oluchi Okpara, who is the national treasurer, to go to Ebonyi State and conduct the substitution primary, knowing fully well that I have not withdrawn. Because the law is that before you conduct a substitution primary, there must be a valid withdrawal later. And that is supposed to be written personally by you, by your handwriting, that you have withdrawn. You will now willingly submit same letter to the national body. And that was not done. With that, I said, well, I don't have money like them. I cannot go fighting them, or I cannot, disobey the law. The next thing I did was to approach the Federal High Court. So when I went to the High Court, I told the High Court the situation. I filed my suit. The matter started. At the end, as God may have it, the judge ruled that my signature was manipulated, that I didn't step down, because somebody whom you claim that stepped down for you or withdrew for you cannot be bringing you to court, cannot be taking you to the police. And the CTC of the primary conducted in Ebonyi State, he has his signature. Then what you presented here is an initial, EO, which is not my signature.
Okay.
Even as we speak, I have a signature, only one signature I don't have 2 signatures. So at the cost of investigation, the police went to the bank, Access Bank, to ascertain my signature. From there, they got my authentic signature, which corresponds with the signature I signed during the primary.
Okay.
So
what is the state? How far so far? What is the state of affair at the moment?
Well, to run it up, after the Federal High Court judgment, they were not satisfied with the judgment. They appealed the judgment.
Okay.
So we went to Enugu, Court of Appeal Enugu. As God may have it, it was ruled in my favor. They were still not satisfied. They went to Supreme Court. We all went to Supreme Court. It was still ruled in my favor that I'm the authentic governorship candidate. So after that, the matter at the Federal High Court, at the police continued, that brought about the report you have at hand. So I said that we cannot continue to condone criminality. If we are yearning for a new Nigeria, we should at least come up with clear mind that will actually tell Nigerians that we are ready to make change. That is where we are.
So, like you say, you should tell Nigerians that you're ready to make a change as the new Nigeria, because a lot of people would say that with your party came up and then brought forth so much enthusiasm from people who were not even interested in going into the elections, and then it in some way shifted that 2-party system in Nigeria, and then we saw that a lot of people wanted to go into the elections because of Labour Party. But now with this infighting, how much did it affect you in the governorship elections?
Well, I was terribly affected because Ebonyans wanted a new blood in the system, and they had this belief in me. But you know, all these litigations and all that really affected the time for us to get things done. But that notwithstanding, the youth of Ebonyi State, we are very enthusiastic in having me as a governor, as their governor. Even when the litigation was going on, the number of youths that were coming, you know, to hear from the judge, there were many. The interest was there. So the aspect we disagreed completely was a one-man show business, where you will stay because you have seen yourself as the leader, then you begin to use that God-given opportunity to extort money from people. As we speak, the architect in Pueblo, when he was invited by the police, made a confessional statement that they collected 200 million naira from him, and that he paid the money in 4 installments through a personal account of the treasurer. If you are doing something on behalf of the party has account. All the transactions, sales of forms, that's nomination form, interest form, should be done with the party account number, not personal account number.
But then he sends the money to his personal account, so he should know that it should be in the party account.
No, the truth is that they claim they are the owner of the party. They will tell you what to do. So because you are...
Is Labour Party owned by someone?
That was what he claimed. Remember, I told you here that Barrister Julius Abure told me that he's going to show me that he's the national chairman of Labour Party and that his words are final. You should know what that thing means.
And I think you also stated that he had such threats at some point.
Oh, certainly. We found an embodiment of illegality in Barrister Julius Abure. If we choose to open the can of worms in Labour Party, maybe probably on another day, Labour Party will have nothing less than 600 cases in court.
Oh, wow.
Over illegal substitution.
Interesting.
Over payments of monies meant for the party into Abure and other front personal accounts, company accounts. So there's a myriad of issues and problems. It's a can of worms. So in my own case, he had alleged that I forged a signature, for instance. What was the issue? I designed and developed 3 ICT solutions for the Labour Party. The Labour Party National Mobilization Platform. It has 6 portals. One of the portals that registers support groups and issues them certificate.
All right, we'll take that one after we go on this quick break. Let's go on quick break, and when we return, clearly we have more to unbundle from this conversation, and we will get right into it after this time out. Join us again.
The world is aware of my achievement, what I put on ground for the Labour Party. I had mobilized the youth of this country sufficiently with the support groups and the obedient movement. I had given leadership and direction to the movement.
Are you saying you are at the forefront with regards to the obedient movement?
Oh, certainly in Nigeria. Find out the leadership of the obedient movement across Nigeria, headed by Dr. Ogidi Paul Moses, Charlie Boy and the rest of them. Those you know, they work directly with me. I am still at the forefront of the movement till today. So I have a lot to tell Nigerians when it comes to even the obedient movement and its operation, locally and in the diaspora.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on a whole lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. As our guest on the show today, we have Comrade Anslem Eragbe, who is the national youth leader, Labour Party, and we also have Comrade Splendour Eze-Oko, who is governorship candidate, Ebonyi State for Labour Party. All right, before we went on that break, you were trying to give us a lowdown on the Form EC8A that you set up for the party. Please conclude on that thought before.
Okay, basically, I remember talking about the can of worms in Labour Party.
Okay, the can of worms.
There's a lot of illegality that have been perpetrated by Barrister Julius Abure. That in the list, Labour Party should have nothing less than 600 court cases over illegal substitution in Labour Party. So, but that is that. Now, concerning the elections, now like you are aware, Abure had to supplant me and supplanted my office as the national youth leader of Labour Party and brought in the deputy national secretary, Kennedy Ahanotu, whom he paraded as the acting national youth leader of Labour Party. Of course, Kennedy's activity and Abure's activity led to the failure of the Labour Party in the presidential election. But of course, the crisis it created for some of us led to the reason why I personally could not even run my own senatorial elections. Himself, he couldn't run his own governorship election.
So the Labour Party crisis actually affected...
Oh, so certainly. Certainly. It affected me to the point where I couldn't run my own senatorial district election. And that was a giveaway election for me, ordinarily, by the measure of work we had done. But notwithstanding, like I said, I told the world that I have my name to prove. It is not enough for me, for Abure or the party to have said, I was the senatorial. If they had indicted me for criminality like they claimed, on the one hand, and on the other hand, they said I was the senatorial candidate to run an election. I said, no, I'm not desperate to run an election where I've been accused. So I ensured that I followed up with the issue of allegations against me. What were the allegations? Abure said I forged his signature and that of the national secretary.
What is this with forging signatures?
Now, I need to explain that to the world again. Abure said I engaged in fundraising online. But of course, these were not correct. What was the issue? I initiated, I designed and developed, I funded 3 ICT solutions for the Labour Party with cumulative sum of a minimum of 75 million naira, for which a dime has not been paid. But that said, the first platform called the Labour Party National Mobilization Platform has 6 portals. The portal 1 registers the support groups and issues certificate. For those who registered, support groups that registered, it was only my signature that was on that certificate. Until a time where a technical session was held and Abure insisted that I should remove my signature and put the signature of the national chairman, his own signature, and the national secretary, and instructed Kennedy Ahanotu, the deputy national secretary, to give me a membership card. I have displayed that membership card severally. I still have the same card with me till today. Now, on that card was the signature of the national chairman and the signature of the national secretary, though their names were not written there. Now, it was that card, my ICT team extract the signatures there. No, it's online now, so you have to extract. You scan and extract and put in the program. Now, unknown to us that the card that Kennedy Ahanotu gave to me, my ICT team, was a card signed previously by our late national chairman. Are you with me? So okay. That means the signature my ICT team uploaded on the website, those signatures were the signature of the chairman was the signature of A.A. Salam. May so rest in peace. Like I said, I didn't know what the issue was. But as God will have it, Abure set up a disciplinary committee for me. I met the committee on the 18th of October. On the 19th, Abure ruled out a suspension against me without going through the processes. Because like I said earlier, he had boasted that he will suspend me and heaven will not fall. Now, on the 20th, the day they brought the matter to the public view, because there was a press conference that was called, which was a marked deviation from the normal. You don't call a press conference on internal party affairs. The party constitution says we exhaust all internal resolution mechanism where there are dispute or issues. But because Abure had boasted that he will suspend me and heaven will not fall, so they now on the 20th, before the press conference, unknown to me, I came to the party secretariat, where I was in the secretariat. Later in the day, the national secretary, I went upstairs to do something. So I saw the national secretary's door open. So I went in to greet him. Oh, leader, how are you? So on his table was a certificate of registration online, which somebody did because diaspora were doing their registration, support groups. That certificate was on the table. He now called me, youth leader. Because I approached him, so I saw the certificate. So ordinarily, I would not have known what the issue was till today. So immediately somebody said, okay, you did that. This certificate, I said, yes, certificate of registration of support group. He said, this signature. I said, that's the signature of the national chairman and the national secretary. Innocently. He said, no, but this signature. I said, is anything the problem? I said, your deputy national secretary, because I didn't know what the matter was. Your deputy national secretary, Kennedy Ahanotu, gave me, that's my ICT team, a card on the instruction of Julius Abure. Because Abure wanted to do his own membership registration, to download the membership card with 6 IDs. So, with signature of chairman and secretary. So, because like I said earlier, it was only my signature that was on the card online and the certificate of registration.
Okay.
So now we had uploaded his signature, supposedly. And he told Kennedy to give me a card to extract his signature. So that was the card Kennedy gave. So innocently, my IC team extracted the signature, put online. So National Secretary asked me, this signature, I said, what's wrong with the signature? Your deputy gave me the card to extract signature. I said, this signature belongs to A.A. Salam. I said, oh, well, even if it belongs to A.A. Salam, it's a former immediate national chairman that just passed on. Okay, give me your signature. Or give me another document that shows your signature with chairman so that the ICT could replace. So, fellow Nigerians, this would have been it, as it has to do with signature. So there was no forgery. The same Julius Abure is alive. Maybe you could invite him. Said, National Youth Leader, Kennedy, Deputy National Secretary, give National Youth Leader my sample signature. They gave me a card to extract his signature. So on his own authority and instruction. So that is that about signature, to tell the world that there was no signature falsification by me. 2, the issue of the online fundraising. Like I said, the constitution of the Labour Party empower the national youth leader of Labour Party to be in charge of the mobilization of youth of this country, to initiate and implement strategic programs and policies that will endear the party to the youth of this country. And one of such programs I initiated and implemented was ICT solution.
Okay. Okay.
So now under the 6 portals, we had a portal for fundraising.
Okay, I know you've actually told us that part of the story.
And in that portal, those online accounts were never active because I waited for authorization letter.
So what happened to all the monies that were coming from the diaspora?
Well, that's another question the world will have to, because all of these have become issues today. We are aware of how much monies came ultimately, to a very large extent, for monies that were eventually misappropriated, as I found, by Abure. So we'll come to all of these issues later. But for Eragbe Anslem, it's on record that Eragbe Anslem did not collect a dime from anybody. Neither did I raise funds online. Even though the account was created, the Zenith Bank account, and hosted on the platform, so that people who needed to pay money ultimately from abroad and locally paid. And those monies were paid to Zenith Bank, Labour Party Zenith Bank account, not Eragbe Anslem's account.
Okay.
So
since you've made that clear, I'm sure Nigerians want to know, even those Nigerians in diaspora, those that you tell that drop your 1 kobo, drop your 2 kobo into this account just to fund the party. Just if you support this party, then fund the account by dropping your 1 kobo. What happened to those their 1 kobo?
Well, you see, that's a big question for Julius Abure. Because good enough, we are back. I'm back as the national youth leader of Labour Party. Now, I don't know how much of this you are aware. Most of the polling unit agents that work for the Labour Party national election, presidential and the rest, have not been paid till today. They have not been paid. So what happened to the money? Like I said, I got an approval for over 10 billion naira funding to fund our national election, the presidential and national elections. And I took Abure to my partners who were to make release for all of these funds.
Were those funds released?
Well, that's another story Abure will tell us. Funds were released to them. So,
did you get out part of the fund?
No, not a dime, like I said. Not a dime of that money came to me. Even when I had exhausted myself on behalf of providing solutions for the party is on record. Labour Party did not give me a dime. At a point, I understand the party was to make a token of 50 million to senatorial candidates, which some got. I don't know how many got, some did not, but that was the approval. But Eragbe Anslem got nothing. So, having exhausted myself, I funded, like I said, the mobile application, the situation room to retrieve the form EC8A, which is still the issue today. I designed I initiated, design, develop, I funded it for the Labour Party. I have not been paid.
All right. So now, if all of this happens, and then you're still the presidential, you still have the election tribunal ongoing, where you're trying to reclaim your mandate. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Even what exactly is the way forward? What does it look like in the tribunal? Does it look like the Labour Party will definitely reclaim its stolen mandate, like you alleged?
Well, basically, I am of the opinion, on a broad-based spectrum, personal opinion, Labour Party won the presidential election in Nigeria. But that's by the way now. But we need to prove that we won the election. How do you prove it? The only way you can prove that is to be sure that you have the Form EC8A. The Form EC8A is the result collation sheet signed by all the 18 parties polling unit agents across each polling unit in Nigeria. Now, the solution we design and develop is equivalent of the INEC IRF portal. The mobile application is the situation room where all of the programs are. Then you can do the computation, provide online computation of result polling unit by polling unit, party by party, across each polling unit, across each local government, each ward, local government, state, and the federation. Then the Form EC8A is to be uploaded, just like the beavers. So what the beaver does is it captures the details of that result sheet signed and is uploaded. So we have what we call the election collation and display window, which we design and develop for the Labour Party. So that is the window that displays the Form EC8A. So all of this I did. Now my problem started when I insisted as the national youth leader that I needed to begin to engage the youth of this country to build their capacity across the polling unit areas, 176,846 polling units. My solution was 3 polling unit agents per polling unit, times 170, gives you 535,000 polling unit agents. Because I knew the victory was sure for us. We had the people on our side, the youth were sufficiently, mobilized in terms of these electionary activities for the Labour Party. And they were going to cast their vote, they were majority. But like I told leadership, except we are able to harness the result at the polling unit, which we have not been able to do to today. Like I said, under Abure, Labour Party had no 42,000 polling unit agents. With INEC.
Okay.
And I've said repeatedly that even on the day of election, even of the 134,000 plus polling unit agents that were accredited by INEC, some of them were not on their duty post. But notwithstanding, spirited Nigerians were able to come in to stand in place. Are you getting it? And were able to capture all of these details.
We even saw people bringing their generators.
Up to today, people are still begging the Labour Party to come and get the Form EC8A from them. And I thought, even while I suffered all the travail, but I maintained my position because this is a national issue. It was beyond the Irregularities. It was beyond my grievance. It was beyond my senatorial election.
So was it your office doing all those mobilization?
Of course.
Because we know that Labour Party is mostly youth.
Yeah, like I said, for those who followed my activities in Nigeria and across the world, I set up global ICT solution to the point where diaspora Nigerians, this is a global station. The world is aware of my achievement, what I put on ground for the Labour Party. I had mobilized the youth of this country sufficiently with the support groups and the obedient movement. I had given leadership and direction to the movement.
Are you saying you are at the forefront with regards to the obedient movement?
Oh, certainly in Nigeria. Find out the leadership of the obedient movement across Nigeria, headed by Dr. Ogidi Paul Moses, Charlie Boy, and the rest of them. Those you know, they work directly with me. I am still at the forefront of the movement today. So I have a lot to tell Nigerians when it comes to even the obedient movement and its operation, locally and in the diaspora.
Okay, so clearly there are lots to unbundle from this conversation, but time is really not our friend. But before we go to Comrade Splendour, now let me ask you, even though your party didn't win the election, what exactly is your office that is supposed to mobilize the youth? What exactly are you doing for the youth, even as we look forward to 2027 elections? Because there are hydra-headed challenges on which the youth are always at the receptive end in all of this. You talk about unemployment, you talk about unease in the ease of doing business. What exactly is your office doing to buffer and help this same youth that you are chairing during elections?
Before I answer that question, let me make a point clear to the world. Like I said, the reason for our failure, I've already took a man who had no capacity. It took Kennedy Ahanotu, Deputy National Secretary, a man without track record, a man without capacity to head the office of the youth leader. And even after I had developed the solutions, he could not apply any of them.
So how did that affect Peter Obi?
That is the consequence we are faced with today. How come a man who stood in the office of the national leader to today cannot account for Form EC8A? Why? So that is the issue. Abure and Kennedy Ahanotu, in their desperate effort to run Irregularities and Slender, ran Peter Obi and the Labour Party aground and messed up the entire process. Even though
he's the Comrade Abure is the one that we always see around.
Yes,
of course, your presidential candidate.
Yes, even like I said, all of these crises that affected my office stem from Kennedy Ahanotu, because Kennedy Ahanotu, being the Deputy National Secretary, maintained the Labour Party web page. It's a web page. What I provided for the Labour Party is ICT solution. The way it has never been provided for any party in Nigeria.
Okay,
and having the capacity to administer the process I designed and developed.
Okay, just
and manage the entire process for the election.
In 1 minute, if you can, before you touch on the question I asked you, help our viewers to understand what is the difference between a web page, like you pointed out now, and ICT.
Yeah, solution. Now, a web page, for instance, maybe let's talk about a typical website. When you make a design for a site, it is static. When I mean static is if you put A there and put this picture, it remains there forever. That is a page. Now, when you talk about a solution, ICT solution I developed, these are dynamic. They have dynamic functions. Okay. For instance, you put in, you make an input, it gives you a feedback of an expected outcome. For instance, you log on, you register support, you register a support group, your name, put your PVC, it issues you a certificate with unique IDs. The next man comes in, log on his details as a support group, it issues you a certificate of the Labour Party with your name, with your address, with your unique ID, certificate number, local government number, state number, all of these details. These are unique features.
Okay.
These are dynamic. So now the membership card.
I'm sure I guess already understand.
Yeah, for the membership card, for instance, you have a static normal card. But when you log on to our website for membership registration, it gives you a feedback that gives you 6 ID. A national ID that runs from number 1 to the last. That ID tells you how many people ultimately have voted for the presidential candidate. So we're able to isolate the expected outcome for a presidential election. It gives you another ID, a state ID. We're able to know how many people will vote for the state governors. So I was able to determine exactly how many votes we were to get in every state for our governorship candidate by the solution I provided. It gives you a local government ID, and from that ID, I am able to know how many votes I was going to get as a senatorial candidate for Edo North.
And this will translate to votes.
This will translate to votes. Physical votes, because these are eligible voters, and it displays your unique ID, your VIN. So what I provided for the Labour Party was such that we knew who the eligible voters were. So we had their details. Our mobilization was not speculative. Exact details. Save if probably anybody died, but for all those who registered that were alive, we designed processes to monitor even up to the day of election, up to the collation of results at the polling unit, from accreditation to upload.
Okay, so
display.
So, Comrade Anslem, just touch on that question I asked you with regards to the youth. What are you doing at the moment?
With respect to the youth, I will send you a document, a 32-page document I wrote sometimes in December. I say that's the beginning of the compendium on Abure. On that document, I had mobilized 2.5 billion euro to fund the empowerment programs for Nigeria youth, not just Labour Party, for Nigeria youth, even way ahead of the election. So what I'm saying is, the philosophy of the Labour Party, its manifesto is such that we engage in economic. We are talking of productivity, moving Nigeria from consumption to production.
That's always been your mantra.
It has always. I'm a registered engineer, metallurgical materials engineer. So the hallmark of my training is productivity. So I know what it takes. I know the natural endowment of Nigeria. both in land resources, water resources, mineral resources, and how to put the human resource against the material resources for productivity optimization. Like I said, for those who know me, I've said it separately here, everywhere. I'm a researcher with the Research Institute sector in Nigeria. I'm the National Organizing Secretary of the Academic Staff Union of Research Institutions in Nigeria. Over the last 10 years, we embarked on Nigeria project, sourcing funding, and I got approval for 150 billion euro to fund the research sector and the Nigeria economy.
Okay.
I brought in 14.2 million euros, still stock in Zenith Bank, awaiting release probably anytime soon. I got alternative. So the point I'm making is we have provided solution for this economy, Nigeria.
So how is
for the empowerment of the youth of this country?
Just so we're clear, how exactly is this solution touching on that Nigerian youth that was chanting Obi must go and become the president, but now he's not the president? So what are you doing for that same Nigerian youth who is in their village or wherever they are?
Part of what we began to do, there are about 8,805 political wards in Nigeria. 774 local government, 176,846 polling units. Now, we had made a proposition of 155 youth per ward in Nigeria for this empowerment scheme, first phase I talked about. It was going to take...
Was there the Obedience or Labour Party
Yes,
youth?
no, it's a private initiative, like I said, we brought it from the Research Institute sector. And we're to proliferate it across board. But because it was election year, the Obedience, the Nigeria youth, because basically I had looked beyond party boundaries as a nationalist to say, here is this window, we have sourced this funding for implementation in the Nigeria economy to empower Nigeria youth. First and foremost, we needed to begin to build their capacity. Also, if you followed my activities carefully, you find out that even for the polling unit agents, it was a deliberate policy of the Office of the National Youth Leader to build capacity of 535,000 Nigeria youths. Even though this first beneficiary on party grounds were going to be for Labour Party. But there is 155 of them to come from each ward. Okay. Cutting across PDP, APC, Labour Party, as far as you're a youth, male, female, and other Nigerians, because we have to face the funding program. So what I'm saying in summary today is to say, to the glory of God, I'm back in office as a national youth leader. So that all that we began to do, for which lies were told upon us and I was illegally removed, we are back to continue that process. So I'm telling the youth of this country, say there is hope. We are back on stage. So now, once this little crisis we have on our hand faces out, as it is now, the court again today has just further restrained Abure.
So you say it's a little crisis?
I call it a little crisis because I am a man who believes in the rule of law. I could be very heady or stubborn only on the part of the law. If I don't have anything on the part of the law, I say and do nothing.
All right.
But if I have a position on the part of the law, there's nothing anybody can do about it.
All right.
Just like the matter we have on hand.
All right, because our time is fast spent, let's come to you, Comrade Eze. Now, we know that it's not, you also have some other state governor or state governorship candidates who have issues with their elections, like, for instance, the Lagos state governorship candidate who has said he's definitely hitting the court with regards to all that happened during the elections. Now, how much are all of you, as the governorship candidate of your party, galvanizing to help yourself solve all these issues?
Well, the problem is not just on the governorship candidates over the country. There are issues bordering on forgery, perjury, even in National Assembly candidates. For instance, the one we have in Edo, Comrade Murphy, who actually stood for the primary, just the way I stood for the primary, and his name was uploaded by INEC, was illegally substituted by the same Abure. His signature was also forged. As we speak, the Murphy has approached the police for investigation.
Oh, wow.
And they are done with the investigation and they have shifted their file to the legal department. That one is coming up. I want to tell you that Abure believes in impunity, and that is what has taken the party to where we are. The man, Murphy, did everything just the way I did in Ebonyi State, to call back Abure to senses, all to no avail. Abure saw a lady from APC, Octavia, who had some money to throw around. Abure went and collected the cash and substituted Murphy's name illegally. The matter is coming up just the way my own is. Okay? So
how are you galvanizing?
In Lagos, the same thing. Let me tell you the truth. The truth is, if you continue to pamper criminality, it will continue to perpetrate itself. But when there is a remorse, like some of us had wanted Barrister Julius Abure to show remorse of all this, God knows if that was done, we wouldn't have gotten to this stage, because everybody, nobody is perfectly is a saint.
So are you saying it's okay to forge, to have all of these claims, but then come back to repent?
No, I said.
Life goes on.
From the very first time we noticed this, we started calling Julius Abure to order. If Julius Abure had allowed us to run our election the way it's supposed to be done, who knows? We wouldn't have had the audacity to continue to go on. But this affected our aspiration as human beings. And what also angered us the more is that Labour Party is talking about youth involvement in politics, youth involvement in leadership. And now we are the youth who are aspiring to be, just for instance, myself, I'm a youth, aspiring to become the governor. I'm not talking about going to start ballot boxes. I'm not talking about going to involve myself in one criminal activity or the other. I have prepared myself from the days of the university.
All right.
You know, I was in active student unionism. I have prepared myself, and I came out. I participated in the process. I was validly nominated. Why then do you decide to shortchange me? Because you have seen money. That's what we are talking about.
All right.
And the youth of this country should, as a matter of fact, continue to aspire for leadership position. Because if the youth become go into power, they will have the opportunity to right the wrongs as it affects them.
All right.
Do you understand?
All right. Thank you so much. Our time is fast spent, even though I have one other question for you, Comrade Anslem. Right. But in 1 minute, my time is fast spent. So 1 minute, just help me. We came across a particular social media banter or social media drag where you made a tweet that says, "My dear LP members and obedience, I don't want any young Nigerian to have high blood pressure because of my of Comrade Eragbe Anslem and Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu in this beautiful picture where you have in Aso Villa as the presidential aspirant in 2022 before Mr. Peter Obi joined the quite a lengthy one. But I'm going to ask you, yes or no, are you defecting to APC? Because that's the drags we've been hearing on social media.
No, I'm a full-fledged, I'm a Labour man.
Okay.
In orientation and in action. I'm fully in Labour Party.
So there's no intentions
No.
of shifting ground anytime soon?
No.
All right. Thank you so much for your time with us, Comrade Anslem Eragbe. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Hannibal.
Great. And thank you so much, Comrade Eze-Oko. It's been a wonderful time having this talk with you. We actually wish we could go on and on, but time is never our friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Great. All right, viewers, that's all we can take for today. Like I say, how time flies when you're discussing serious matters that concerns our very own country, Nigeria. We've been chatting with Comrade Anslem Eragbe, who is the National Youth Leader, Labour Party, and also we had Comrade Eze-Oko, who is the governorship candidate for Ebonyi State, Labour Party. And you've actually seen it going on. I'm sure that you have been rightly entertained, enlightened, and we'll see you next time. Keep watching The Conversation, because you never know who my next guest will be and who I will be speaking about or to next. Till I come your way again from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless you and yours. God bless Nigeria.